Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Roosters in the Horseshoe Lounge. It's a fun, casual joint. It is time for a fun, casual chat with these gentlemen. Justin Zwick, he's back from vacation,
Hey,
and that mustache is coming in
it's kind of, well, I
powerfully strong.
trimmed it down a little
Oh,
bit. It was a
okay.
little too strong.
Wow.
I trimmed it down this morning.
Okay, he's down there in the mountains. He was
Yeah.
letting it get wild. Bobby Carpenter over here. No mustache. Have you ever grown one?
Yeah,
A good
I've
one?
showed you the mustache.
Oh, that's right. It's a beautiful one.
Just last week you
That's
saw
I
it.
can't
Oh,
forget.
jeez.
It's as orange as yours.
I tried to block it out. It was press the memory right away. I don't want to see that.
I'm glad you were holding it down for me while I was gone, Bob.
Well, I didn't grow it out. I showed him a picture
that's-
of it.
Oh, okay. All right. That's too
That is Bill Landis, and I am Austin Ward. And the Big Ten is now 18. Wow. What do we make of this?
Well, I know for a conference that loves its math, loves its academic prowess. I mean, 18 is a far cry from 10. Maybe it's Big Tens here soon.
Ooh.
Could
two
be.
There you
sets, maybe holding a couple of placeholders for one last little group of movement here. I mean, I don't know if they can relegate Rutgers and Maryland or a Northwestern. You kind of pick
They should.
who could you maybe slide out of there to open up some spots. I think there'd be some willing participants you could have come in from maybe down south, maybe one from South Bend even.
You don't say.
But I feel like we're getting to that point where, I mean, Notre Dame has been Switzerland all these years, and the walls are closing in on them one way or another against them. So, I mean, I was up in Canton for the Hall of Fame, and it was great. And while I'm there, like the world is imploding around me. Of like the Pac-12 slid into the Pacific Ocean. We've been saying that for years that California might fall off. It was actually the Conference of Champions that slid on into the Pacific Ocean while we were there. So I mean, it was a wild situation. On my morning show, we had a poll of would the Pac-12 exist? I think in 2025 or 2024, some arbitrary next year, or the year after. And on Thursday, it was 80-20 yes. Then on Friday, let's just ask the
Do it
same
again.
do it again. And it was 75% no.
Run it back.
So you could see the consumer sentiment had drifted dramatically during that time. And Colorado started going, and then you hear the Arizonas, and it's like, well, Utah, they weren't going to be left in the dust. Oregon and Washington knew it was time to pull out, and now you're left with the Pac-4 and really no major conference west of the Rockies that stands alone, which in itself kind of saddens me a little bit.
Well, you do have to know when to pull out. Jay-Z,
I got 4 kids, Austin, so I've failed.
I'm not sure how good you are at that. But Jay-Z, what did you think of this move?
I thought it was inevitable. I mean, I think it's going to happen. I mean, it's just the way things are going, like Bob was talking about.
It didn't seem like it was going to be this.
Well,
quick.
I mean, I know it. That part is strange. Just out of the blue, it's almost like they don't want to miss out. They have the, FOMO of just, hey, we got to pick these teams up now, or they're going to go somewhere else. We got to give them that deal. So,
Like,
I watched.
Were they ever going to get a better offer?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm guessing everybody wants to come to the Big Ten just because of the money involved.
Even for half price now.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, that's wild. But I watched that clip of the Missouri head coach kind of talking about this whole thing, everything that's happening. And it does seem wild to me. I think football needs to be its own little thing and let these other schools let the other sports continue to play in their regional little conferences or whatever you would call it at that point in time. But it's a crazy
Pods.
world.
They
of
love
college
pods.
Pods, is that what it is? Pods.
We can't call them conferences anymore. Now we're going to have pods.
Well, let's just get 4 big pods and
4
let's
pods.
just get at it and let it be football only and let everybody else kind of do their thing. But it's exciting to add new people and just things are changing. Things change, Mox. They're in the Big Ten now. Yeah, so I mean, that's how it goes. It's going to be
cool. Who got the whipped cream bikini? Did Oregon and Washington both have one on?
Say Oregon, probably.
There you go.
But
Which would you
see how
rather?
it goes.
Bill?
I don't want to see either of them wear a
Yeah, probably not.
You get a lot of the hemp necklaces out there, though. Bill.
Yeah.
I don't like like Bob said, it happened quicker than I thought it would. I figured those would be the next 2 because Notre Dame will hold out as long as it possibly can, assuming that it does eventually make.
They'll abstain as long as they can.
Abstain. That's right. But I think and honestly, it didn't really feel like the Big Ten was thinking of doing this until it realized it could get 2 programs of that caliber at a discount. And it's
Hey,
like, of course,
A
you're gonna
little
do that.
BOGO?
You've heard of the song, is it Thrift Shop, Thrift Store?
Yeah.
Macklemore?
Macklemore, yeah.
You know where he's from?
He's from Seattle,
There
Washington.
you go.
Yeah.
So it's like the Big
We
Ten
went
was just
thrift shopping.
they're just driving by, and the Pac-10 was having a yard sale and said, "I don't need to pay full price for these two guys. Let me just get them right here at half off." You got a BOGO, Bill.
Yeah,
Boy, was that song terrible, by the way.
it sure was. Yeah, like every other Macklemore song.
Yep.
I don't know. Like I find it exciting more than anything. I see people like lamenting the loss of like the traditional college football season and what it means to lose in the regular season. Like that ship sailed like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like this is taking us farther down that road, I suppose. But it's not like this was the 10th step in many steps that have gotten us to this point. So, and nothing's going to change because the TV dollars are the ones that are driving it, and they want these mega conferences. So, I think it's cool. I'm going to try to, I think, embrace the funner parts of it. I know there's legitimately serious questions about other sports and how they function in a world like this, but from a football standpoint, I like the idea of Ohio State being able to play some of these teams more regularly.
So,
I love the idea of them putting all this food down by me. Just
by the way,
Eat up.
testing
speaking
me.
Until
of-
you missed it last week.
Testing me.
speaking of a bargain,
Oh, speaking of a bar,
Appetizer 3's days,
it's like it's some
onion-
shake your tail
onion
feathers.
feathers.
Yeah.
Onion feathers.
onion
Shake
feathers.
Your
Got
onion
some
feathers.
It's
That's
always
some-
going to be plucking sauce to me.
pluck you sauce right there. Get it going. $3 Appetizer 3's day
There
all
you
day
go.
long. They're
Boom.
delicious. They're nice gooey onion on the inside.
Don't even like onions, but these are delicious.
They
I
are.
eat, I eat
You
them
don't
up.
like to-
Nom,
yeah.
nom, 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 nom.
You don't have to like onions to like onion feathers.
That's right.
Feathers. So they got that.
Yeah. Do you like deliciously fried food and
Yeah.
get some spicy sauce?
It's so good.
Yep.
You know,
Then you're good to go.
to Bill's point, this was like the 10th step in all of this. But to me, it was almost the final step of like everything happening. Like Thanos finally got his way and was able to snap his fingers. And you look, I was thinking about this. You look in the early 90s, you have Florida State, Miami, Louisville, they all join, the ACC or Big East at that time, wherever they go. And then, Penn State eventually joins the Big Ten. And then everything kind of cools for a while and like conferences seem to be in a good spot. And then you start having, the ACC Big East stuff start to kind of flirtation happening. Nebraska joins the Big Ten, A&M then joins the SEC, all that stuff happening. It's like that to me was kind of it when it's like, hey, we're going to get rid of Oklahoma, Nebraska. We're going to get rid of Texas A&M.
Mhm.
Like if those things aren't sacred now, then what is? And then with that, well, A&M and Texas have picked back up. Bedlam though is now gone. You look at the Apple Cup, that's gone. Civil War's gone. All these different rivalry games that I enjoy watching, and I don't have to watch really any of the other games. I'll look, okay, these two teams are here's their record. What's on the line? Probably not a whole lot, but they're generally very entertaining games because there's a lot of passion behind them. And like those are always the end of the year games. It's right around
Ones where you throw
Thanksgiving.
the records out, and
Yeah.
it's just it's about school pride, and you want to get after it.
I
And they're
wake
fun
up
to watch.
hungover the day after Thanksgiving, trying to figure out what to watch. Like, okay,
Boom.
here you go. Here's like a snowy Apple Cup. That you have Mike Leach on the other side going against Chris Peterson, and like, it was just fun stuff to see. And like as a football fan, I enjoyed that. So I do lament the fact that a lot of those traditional rivalries, things that we have known for so long, are now gone. Some of them picking back up. Texas and A&M, that's a thing again, and that's fun and that's good. But just a lot of that other stuff, man, they were so great. And there were so many great players on both sides and so many stories. Like the thought of Ohio State, Michigan going away and not playing because Ohio State could join the SEC or Michigan's joining whatever, like that would be terrible to me. Like I think that would be brutal.
But
And
it, also,
already
but it also lends itself to new rivalries. I mean, we're going to start seeing the Oregons and the
New-
Washington. Well, I mean,
new-
even though we
new
played both of
classics?
those, I guess.
we have
Well,
some
you
new
never know what they
classics.
turn into, Bob. I mean, you never know what
Well,
it turns into.
Ohio State and Penn
But
State.
they're big time games that are going to be
Yes.
played throughout the season. We're just like, well, instead of bringing Maryland, we got Oregon coming to town. That's a different feel, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Remember that
just,
crack toss from a couple
you
years
just,
ago?
I mean, it's just going to create some more excitement because we're playing teams that we don't typically get to see, and then that's going to turn into us just being used to it and having some rivalries maybe, and see how that goes.
But
So
it took,
I get both sides. I'm
Yeah.
a traditionalist in college football. I mean, I don't. Things have changed, and it is what it is. But I think it's going to be neat to see some of these big time games on a yearly basis.
I feel like it took, a good 15 years before Penn State, Ohio State felt like legit. And for the last 15 years, it's felt really awesome.
Yeah.
And then that's even like
They're
dissipating
kinda
now.
gone now, yeah.
Like when you talk about this, can every team have more than one rivalry? Like Iowa's not going to be able to have 47 rivalry games anymore because it's not going to work when you have 18 teams. Like I don't know if you do, 9 and 9, you play 8 games, maybe 2 crossovers, 1 locked in rivalry or something. Like, but that you try to start doing the math on this. I know we got a lot of smart people over there, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to figure out a way to make this work and make it happy kind of for everybody.
I think overall it's going to be a net positive. But the things that you guys both mentioned about the tradition and some of the rivalries that are falling by the wayside, that's the trade-off that you have to make, or that has already been made. I think you're going to get more relevant games. The argument, Bill, that we heard all the time was like, well, you can't lose in college football. That means every game is important. Well, that was really only true for a handful of teams that are competing for a national championship. That's not true for the vast majority of college football. But now with an expanded playoff, with a much more expanded Big Ten as well, these games are going to be more relevant. More teams are going to be involved in the national title chase. And guess what? You also get some real clarity on how you're going to determine the champion, which has been a problem for, 125 years of college football, is that you're voting for it or you have computers telling you who should be playing in the game. That was not good. That made college football a bit of a joke to the people who are NFL diehards. And all anybody had to rely on before was that you loved your tradition, which is great. That part is sad that some of that's going away. But if you have a better system in place that brings clarity to how you compete and win a championship, and more teams are able to do that, I think that's good.
No, I agree. Have they said that like Washington State and Oregon State aren't going to play each other anymore?
They're not. Well, they haven't come out and said. I mean, this happened so fast. I don't even think Oregon State and
They woke
Washington
up Monday
State,
morning and said, "What happened over the weekend?"
Yeah, I'm not sure they've even issued press statements. yet.
Washington's athletic director publicly said on Saturday or Sunday that they are going to make every effort to continue the Apple Cup.
Okay, and that's great.
But it won't be up to them, Bob, because I think that they should play 12 conference games because of what you're talking about with the math. And then how would you accommodate that if you wanted to have those?
Well, and that's what's tough is trying to. I would be a fan of 10-2, and that way you could have a non-con. Because you would have a number of schools that would push back on that. You have Iowa who plays Iowa State every year,
Yep.
and there's some of those schools that try to do that. I love how the one of the things I do like with the SEC is where they play like basically their ACC in-state rival. That's one of their built-in games every year, and maybe that's the last game of the season. Maybe you can keep those for some of the schools, and the scheduling will work out where
those poverty programs.
You got to give Penn State the chance to rotate
Poverty.
through Villanova and Delaware every other season.
There you go.
They
should play Pitt. They should play Pitt.
Yeah, that should be every year.
They should play Pitt
They
every
won't,
year.
but
That
they
could be.
should.
I bet Jimmy Franks won't go for
I
that.
mean,
He sure won't.
I know that we love the land grant trophy and the prestige that's behind that, but I think the Pitt game would be a much more valuable game for both sides, and it would be much more entertaining for fans and everybody.
For the state of
enjoy that,
Pennsylvania.
I mean, hell, play it in Pittsburgh. You can rotate it in Penn State, Happy Valley. You can play in Philadelphia every once in a while. Play in Pittsburgh. I mean, make it fun. Like, make it entertaining for the fans. There's a lot of options that you can have, but I enjoy that stuff. So I hope they don't complete. I don't want to go to Austin's just straight up Neanderthal 12 game.
I don't want that either.
10-2 is probably best, but I think I have to start from
It's
a
like
stronger
driving.
negotiation.
It's like driving. Okay.
I'm going to start the negotiation by saying I want 12 because I think that that's probably what the broadcast partners would want. And then we'll be like, well, the school, we want to play our rivalry games. And say, okay, fine. Well, let's do 10 instead of this idiotic idea of 9 and 5 and 4 going back and forth. You can't do that now at 18. You're going to have 10.
Yeah.
You're going to have to.
Yeah, for sure. I don't really know what it looks like with the number of teams in the conference. Unless could you go?
What's a conference?
Yeah, they don't exist. Add 2 more. Go to 10-10, the Big Tens.
Of 9-1.
And then you just have 9-1. Yeah,
Big
Just like
Tens.
a little S at the end.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, listen, it's a branding opportunity. Okay, this is what the marketing's about. It's how they slipped that 11 inside the G.
Oh yeah,
and then,
that's nice.
they did some good stuff
They
there.
slipped it in.
Forever ago.
Now they're going to have to pull it out. Rest in peace to that schedule they released. I believe it was June 4th.
I mean, let me ask you this:
They made it
there
2
was
months.
there was somebody who worked a long time,
Really
on that,
hard on that.
and then all of a sudden, like,
They're like, we figured it out, and then a month later, nope.
throw the papers up in the air.
What should we call this beautiful work that I put together? Flex Protect Plus. Everyone is going to love it, and it's going to last forever. It's so beautiful.
But it was only supposed to last 2 years
This
to
is
begin
my
with. It lasted-
masterpiece. Nah, she gone.
Well, now,
She gone.
So Ohio State was the first version of that. Ohio State was not going out west, right?
No.
The first trip out west was going to be UCLA in 25.
25.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now they're going to have to probably go to Seattle or Eugene, right?
Well, and they were supposed to do that. Why did they cancel the Washington game? It was already on them.
Because
Guess
they were
what?
They
gonna
knew it was coming. Yeah.
It was
now,
coming.
now the Oregon series gets bumped up.
You
10
can't
years.
play a home and home in season, one conference and one non.
Shout out to Brutus, by the way, for breaking this news before anybody else.
Oh
had it.
yeah, I saw that.
Great work on Instagram by Brutus. Should have been listening to him. Hey, camp started on Thursday.
Is that a thing?
We got football.
Yeah. Bob, I saw you out there. Jay-Z was on vacation, so he's going to have to just take our word for what we saw.
Yeah.
What have you thought about the first early stages of the acclimatization period?
Oh, yes. Now they're actually in camp. Today is the first off day, which I was like, oh, I'll watch a little practice before I come over here. False. Off day. Monday, we were serious.
Wow.
But now it's
Moving hotel check-in day to a Monday.
it's collectively bargained where they get a day. Everybody gets a day off. They get their day off. I'm serious.
Yeah.
They get a day off. No, they can't. No lifting. No,
No
fist
nothing,
fight.
huh? Can't be in
I'm
the
like,
building.
get out of here. Well, they're
I'm-
like, no, they come in for woosah
Well,
day and meetings, massages, and it's spa day.
Got to
Spa
meet with
day
the
and-
nutritionist and make
But thi-
sure everything's good.
This just isn't Ohio State. This is the law. This is the
But
rules.
they're also,
The law of the land.
mandated. I've seen the schedule. They have to check in tonight at
Yeah.
the hotel. So I hope Ohio State's not in trouble for that. Ooh, what a violation of rules.
Yeah. So they had, all that stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's good. It was interesting because Ryan's been running, they're running 2 fields. So it was a lot to kind of absorb. It's tough to kind of see everything, trying to watch 2 fields at once. It's like watching 2 movies at the same time. There's a lot of things
We
going
got
on.
a real Barbenheimer playing out.
Well, I mean, I'm like taking a step back. And first of all, I'm like, I got way back of the action because this was highly competitive situations. And I watched Ed Terwilliger get hit by Marvin Harrison and maybe broke a couple ribs.
He
Yeah.
got
And
Is that
eliminate-
who that was?
he
Elim-
got jacked.
eliminate maybe.
Jeez.
Oh, he got put. It was rollerball. He got hit into the.
Now
the-
hold on.
Yeah,
Ed
keep
has been doing
people-
this long enough that
I-
he should know.
I told him 2 rules when you're on the sideline. Number 1, never take your eyes off the field or turn your back. Number 2, always make sure there's no one behind you so you can always get out of the way. He took his eyes off the field because he was trying to get people to put away their phones in the stands and quit filming stuff, and literally took one for the team.
I thought he might have been dead.
It was a shot.
It was Marvin.
It was a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marvin.
Can we
To the
keep
sideline.
people away from Marvin, please?
Well, he was Marvin's catching the
Because
ball.
Marvin's not looking any
Well,
at the sideline.
fair.
He's trying to get his feet down in bounds, which
Yeah.
he did. He's Marvin
Well, of
Harrison.
course.
And then Ed Terwilliger's only like, I don't know, 3 feet off of the
Ugh.
sideline. It was
Scary.
boom, boom.
Ed
Were
and-
they in full pads? Or they're probably in
Ed was
helmets,
in
right?
no pads.
Well, no. Well, it'd be worse if they had full
They
pads
had
on.
the spider
They had
gear
the
on.
They had the
spiders.
spiders. All right.
So it's good. I mean, you've watched the quarterbacks go back and forth. They've been blending a lot of the defensive guys, moving around. I think a lot was made of Sonny and Jihad being out there. But I was looking around. I'm like, well, Denzel Burke's over there with Cam Martinez and everyone else. I was trying to in my mind who else was over there. I'm like, this looks pretty even. I feel like they've just kind of mixing and matching to kind of see who works together and working on some different things. So I mean, early on, I mean, it's going to be a competitive scenario where those guys are going to be working and grinding and to earn these jobs. So I don't think anything is set in stone based upon guys being out there, one day here and one day there.
Did you guys have a lot of that split squad stuff in camp? Because I asked Ryan.
We
Day
would
about
have
that
what
beforehand.
they would have what we call 2 practices in one day. So you wouldn't have to do 2, run 2 fields at once.
What are you talking about? That's archaic.
You would just come back out and then
2
do,
a days.
Oh.
do more.
Interesting.
later.
Yeah, you were just. But wait, there's more.
But
That's
wait.
how you doubled up on reps.
That's how,
Interesting.
yeah. So I give Ryan credit for the innovation now
Yeah.
of like, hey, if you're a quarterback, you want to get reps if
Yeah.
you're in a battle. Like,
No, that's
okay,
great. Yeah.
and they've had it blend. And so here's the thing: like Marvin was on one field with one group. It's Julian and Emeka and another group. And they blended like old and young. So both quarterbacks are getting
Getting a
work
chance,
with
yeah.
like good players. And
When you have so
Don't
many
be-
of them, it's easy to do too.
well, that
I
helps.
mean,
That really
they
helps.
just cut you guys in half and just go do your thing.
And I think that's why they're kind of blending up the secondaries, moving guys around. Like, hey, we want to make sure we're getting like good on good looks here.
Mm.
And so I thought that's pretty innovative in a way to try to keep practice short, be efficient with it. If you can run it, and the key with Ryan says, like, as long as we have enough guys,
Mhm.
warm bodies to be able to do it, you're able to get that done.
Health is part of that, and then the other factor is how long do you intend to keep doing that? Because at some point you need the first units to work together.
Well, I was going to say what. I mean, not being there and seeing it. Like, I mean, are they basically coaching off film? Because I mean, one coach can only be
Yeah.
in one spot at one time, right? So they're
I'm
probably
guessing.
with the ones or who they want to stick around and watch that day, and then they're going in watching film at the other field, saying, "All right, this is where we were."
Yeah, so they had like Knowles and
That's
Perry
something
on
that
one
Knowles-
field
yeah,
and
they just
Tim
kinda
and
split.
James.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they would split. That's like
and then they're
Hartline
coming
was-
back together, and
Well, and it's good for Heartline too to be over there, kind of running. Ryan's helping on the other side, like
Yeah.
going back and forth. It forces guys.
it's a
into
different
roles.
dynamic for
Yes.
coaching, right? Because they're usually all around the same play, and they're back there yelling at everybody that they need to. And when you're split like that, it's a different thought, but that's hopefully it works out for them.
That's something that Jim Knowles brought up on Thursday after practice. Like people, hey, who stood out to you? What did you see? It's like, well,
I saw
not-
half.
not
Yeah.
everything. I have to go watch a lot of film right here.
Yeah.
I got to be done.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think it's sustainable throughout much of camp.
Yeah.
And I honestly, what I think they're going to do So there were 500 fans out there on Thursday, 500 fans out there on Friday. We were out there on
Mm.
Thursday. They're going to do it Thursday and Friday. Probably not do it at all this week until Friday when we're back out there again, and then
Yeah,
not
just
do it
kind
again
of
after
split
that.
things up so it's harder for
Yeah,
people
it's
to
harder
watch
for us to
everything or
watch,
get an
yeah.
idea
Oh,
of
yeah.
exactly what's going on.
Well, it's true. Like you can't like, well, who's in here? Like, well, this guy's there, but he's with him, and like
I saw him over there earlier. He switched his fields.
it's really good though because it's you blend guys together instead of like, all right, well, you're with the twos and this is that, and like, okay, well, there's some ones in here,
Yeah.
like you're going against these DBs or these defensive linemen, so it's good and it gives guys a lot of reps. I'm with you. I think they may probably do like an every other day as long as they have enough guys to do it, and make sure that they're not overtaxing guys. But it allows you to get on and off the field quicker. Like you're taking more reps, which is harder,
Mhm.
but you're not out on your feet as much in the heat and just being not productive, but yet being up there and like fatiguing yourself.
Yeah, it was difficult to peg down a depth chart because it was split up, but um, on that one field, the entire front six was definitely who we expected to be the
Yeah.
starters, and I know that Bill took note, like everybody did, of Sonny Styles and the nickel.
Yeah, I mean that's why I actually put a fair amount of stock in the fact that Sonny was there because
Yeah.
it was for every other position was a starting defense. Even some of the defensive linemen who were sitting out on that field were guys who were going to start. Like Mike Hall was rotating in with that group. The only starter that wasn't on that field was Denzel Burke, which I think makes sense if your thought process is we're going to have two corners go on this field, call it field one.
Mhm.
But then rather than rotate in a third corner, we'll just put Denzel on the other field and let him cover a Mecca or Carnell Tate every play because that's going to work for him. So
Sure.
I think that was largely the first team defense that we saw on that side of the field. And the safeties were Lathan Ransom, Jihad Carter, and Sonny Styles. And I think that's the group that I would want to see out there. But I do think it will force Jim Knowles to do some different things because Sonny, who is technically playing the nickel in this defense, is unlike any player that Jim Knowles has ever used there. He's used corner types at Duke, at Oklahoma State, last year with
He
Tanner
did
McAllister.
5 years of Tanner McAllister.
Yeah, it was all guys who were like between 5'11" and 6'1". There was one guy who was 175 pounds, but the others were like around 190. Sonny's 6'4", 220. That's different. He's like a modern linebacker, I guess. I don't know.
He's different than most humans as well.
Yeah, he's different in general, but at that position specifically, I think it's fair to ask the question like, all right, we're going to put you out there because you're one of the best 11. You should be out there, but can you cover Malachi Corley? Can you cover Roman Wilson or A.D. Mitchell if you get the playoff and see a player like that? Like, I think those are fair questions, but I would rather put Sonny out there and see if it works than like hold him back because you're wondering that question and don't want to put him out there and expose him to it.
Bob, what do you make of those questions?
I think playing football makes you better. So regardless of whether he's at nickel, and there's some similarities between that and the other rock down safety and how that
I
kind of
kind of view them as like mirrored positions.
They really
So,
are.
yeah,
One's going to be to the strength, the
Strong side,
multi receiver side. The other one will be the back side of it. And so there's a lot of play that goes back and forth. I think part of it's going to be we have this group of guys, this bucket of players. How do we package them together to make sure that they're the most efficient? We're utilizing the guys' assets of what they can provide and make sure we're not asking guys to do things they're not good at when we have someone else who may be
Bit
better
at
suited
that.
for just maybe not, 80% of the plays, but maybe 30. And so trying to make sure we can get a package where this guy's really good at this. Let's get him in there and we'll change kind of the look of our defense for these specific plays and maybe against it may be more of a team by team basis on what they play. Sonny does give you that ability, against more big physical teams where you put him out there at that nickel, it's basically a linebacker and it's a physical piece. And maybe you play a team that's a lot more passing. Okay, well, maybe we play with safety and maybe we get you into some other stuff and go with more of a Cam Martinez or someone who is more of a pass defender, more of a defensive back body type. And then speaking of that, then Court Williams was also getting some work at linebacker, which we talked about in recruiting some of the maybe misses that they've had, losing Kingston and guys like that. And maybe some of those answers are internal. And it was good to see him out there now, which he might not factor in a lot this year, but getting a year under his belt within some of the departures next year to be able to have that depth if they're maybe not quite as deep at the younger positions.
Yeah, they reacted to that. Those recruiting losses. You have not just Court Williams, but Nigel Glover coming over from Northwestern last week and getting right out there. We thought that was
Where's the
magic.
size 16 shoe?
He's
Really,
Nigel
the freshman
Glover
does?
Really?
Nigel.
Wow.
Yeah.
he looked pretty impressive physically. And imagine
How
that
big? How tall is he? 6-footer?
No,
No,
he's
he's
tall.
taller.
He's taller than me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a tall dude.
He's
Oh,
he's long, like he's lean, so
Mhm.
it's tough. But I think he's a little. When you guys have helmets on, I would say he's a little
Fair.
taller than I am. He's probably close to 6'4".
They didn't even know if he was going to be able to practice on Thursday, trying to get him, enrolled and accepted.
Mhm.
And amazing that
Get him
this guy
through
who
the
went to Northwestern was able to get it.
running
Wow.
running through the car wash
Yeah.
a couple times.
He escaped it. He didn't. He was only there for
Maybe he's
4
bringing
weeks.
it here.
Oh, boy.
I suspect he is not, which is probably why he is no longer at Northwestern. But I guess I can't speak for him. We did talk to him last week on the podcast. If you missed that conversation, Berm and I had with him before he arrived. We're going to take a break on this episode from the podcast, which is in the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters, which is a fun, casual drive.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
All right, welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. Berm is here.
Hey, Burr.
Hello. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
What did you like to see on Thursday at training camp?
I really think Bob made a good point. Like the way that this camp has to be structured when you're trying to figure out who your starting quarterback's going to be, when you're doing that, rotating them one rep at a time, BS, like
I think Justin is
It's
twitching
terrible.
over there.
It's the worst.
like splitting them up and letting them just have a full practice is a much better way to go, because it's obviously you're watching it on the field and you can only see half of the things, but you have film of all of it. So the Buckeyes are able to see both guys getting 100% of the snaps. And I think that's a really smart way to go. So to me, that was like, we were talking about it on Thursday, like, well, I've never seen him do this before. But the more you think about what the value is for that, it makes a world of sense. And so I think that in this era of like people wanting to form controversies and create a quarterback controversy, this is the best possible way to see everything you can out of both these guys. And I think that's in retrospect, like a couple days removed from it, I think that's what I really did appreciate the most about what they're doing first couple practices.
I guess what I thought was unusual or even strange about it, Jay-Z, was that in the spring we saw it like, all right, well, Kyle's going to do everything with the ones on this day, and Kyle's with the twos. Kyle or whoever, do whatever.
Yeah.
They flip.
One day
they're with one, the next day with the next, and this was like scrambled up throughout
Monday,
the
one day,
practice.
Tuesday, 2 day, Wednesday, when, what day, Thursday, third day.
No,
I don't know what happened.
why would Thursday be third day?
It's the fourth
The
day.
people out there will get the reference.
I've heard you say it a million times.
What is it
but
from?
It's from the television show Friends.
Oh,
You may have heard of it.
I have, but I don't remember that from there. And
I
I've
don't
watched
either.
every episode many
I
times.
feel like I've seen.
Oh, you're behind.
At any rate,
Any rate. So on the third day,
on third day last week, that's what I thought was just unusual, because you're going back and forth, and I felt like it was maybe too much to throw 500 fans and the media off track. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't know. I've just never seen anybody do that to that extreme in one practice.
Well, I think part of it is too is given the wide receiver.
well,
reps.
yeah. Well, I mean, you have wide receivers. You can split those guys up. You have starters all over the place, right? And then you have an offensive line where you're trying to figure out 3 different spots, so you can still kind of mix and match those guys on different fields, I'd imagine, just to get them reps against whatever defensive line you want them to go against. I love the idea. I mean, I didn't know they did that, but I mean, I think it's great, because I mean, even if you're with the twos all day, I mean, well, I guess back in our day it was just a little bit different, because there was a decent drop. I don't want to say drop off, but you're getting some, back when our offensive line took a defensive end and moved him to tackle 2 weeks before the season started.
Yeah.
So when you go to your second offensive line, you're like, man, we just moved this guy who never played right tackle over, and now I got guys filling in. So it was different back then.
And
So
this
you're doing
roster-
that all day.
This roster has 10 receivers who would be starters at 90.
Well, then there's that. You have running backs that could be starters all across the country. So I mean, it's just like, as far as then you just have the guys up front and the quarterback who are could change in and out, or we don't know who the starters are. So I think it's great to be able to get those reps. You stay in a rhythm. You're staying with the same guys. I think it's a great idea, and you're just keeping people on their toes, because you can't watch both of them at the same time. So it's just like, oh, what happened? Was that a good ball, or was it's like keeping those fans on their toes, and they're happy they're there, but they probably didn't walk away saying, I feel good about what this person
most
did. Or,
people left saying Lincoln Keenholz is the starter.
no, it's,
I like
well,
that.
that's just because everybody loves chaos.
I like
most
Link.
people-
Link's going to be good.
There was a lot of people, fans. I mean, obviously you take that with a grain of salt, but a lot of people. No,
He's the fresh new
he's
face.
gonna be good.
Everybody loves the
But,
new
like,
guy.
The people who are, I mean, there are people who you expect to be a rational thinker. Well, I'll be honest.
Well,
He was the best quarterback
Well,
today.
and
That
let's-
was-
based off his number, I
But
mean, I might
the
have to
kid-
go.
But
with
he,
the-
but he definitely wasn't.
right, the kid playing with no pressure.
Yeah, he
at
looked like a
all.
freshman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
The kid out there with no pressure on him at all
Yeah.
looks pressure free. So
and you look who he's going against, as well. And then plus, they're in such a small fraction of the playbook still. As it gets, is there more and more that's added in, the degree of difficulty to execute
All
at a
the
high
reads you have to make and the
Yeah.
things you're looking for. It's
It's
not just
so-
like, all right.
It's so much easier when we weren't doing third
Yeah,
downs
it's
and
like-
red zone and like all these other specials. I have to run 2 minutes now and have all this stuff
Yeah.
memorized. Like
Lincoln
that's
Keenholz never once went against the defensive line that had JT Tuimoloau.
I was
Yeah.
going to say that was the real benefit of Devin Brown and Kyle McCord alternating reps, is that if you were going against JT Tuimoloau, that play wasn't
It's
going to
just
work.
not going to work.
It was just not going to work. He was unbelievable on the practice.
Hope he takes that.
Devastating.
So
Hope he stays healthy.
I would say the defense looked pretty good. I mean, my takeaways, I thought, defensive line wise, those guys are good, and that's why I think they're rotating them a lot to make sure that offensively they can get some functional
Mhm.
practices in. It reminds me a little bit, when they had Bosa and Hubbard and all those guys, and they would just sit on the side because like, we need to actually get reps. We can't get reps in with you in the backfield. We're going to worry about you break. We already watched Joe Burrow break his hand a couple years ago.
Mhm.
As much as you try to get away, it's
All that
hard. Like,
momentum and everything
yeah, I
else.
mean,
Yeah.
you're
You're,
getting
going as
held.
hard as you can against the tackle. All of a sudden, you're by him, and the
Yeah.
quarterback's right behind him.
well, and the quarterback's
what
trying to
do you
keep
do?
it real, like
Yeah.
step up and do
Mhm.
what you would in a game and keep it safe.
That also happened in spring because Mike Hall is so good, and
Yeah.
that's where Devin Brown's pinky
Boom.
was broke.
Mhm.
It's like, you know what? Let's just keep the interior pressure down. Let you guys practice a little bit there. I was also really impressed with so Carnell Tate was over there with Julian and Emeka, and he looked like he may have been the best receiver on that field when he
And
was
I
with
heard he
us.
continued to shine a little bit here. in the
Yeah, I
first
mean, he
couple of days.
looked really, really good. And those were two guys who I would
Yeah,
define
they're
as
really good.
players, really good players. Like you said, the drop. Like, is that Marvin? Oh no, that's Marvin's over here.
Mhm.
This is where he is.
Yeah. And he was getting a lot of that work, at least that we saw against Denzel Burke. So
Yeah.
It's hard to not jump on that train right now, but like then you have to again take a step back and go, there are 10 receivers here who can play anywhere in the country, and it's not going to be easy, no matter
To
how
get them all reps.
how good he's been, to crack that top 4 or 5 and be a consistent guy in the rotation. But like we had a lengthy discussion about it on this morning's podcast daily, like at some point someone is doing enough that you have to give them the shot to show it against someone else. And I think Carnell is moving in that direction.
for you guys who've been through this, those first couple practices where the pads aren't on and it's
It
close. to
wasn't
football.
even real. We didn't have these practices.
Yeah.
This stuff is
Yeah, they
this,
didn't
Those
have-
rules. I've been
Our,
covering some-
our freshman year, we had 2 weeks of practice before camp
Yeah,
started.
they didn't
or
have to.
something
They
along
didn't have
those lines.
acclimation.
No,
periods.
just
acclimation
freshmen.
has always existed. It's
We had
not a new
freshman
phenomenon.
We had
though,
freshman
before
camp like a week before the older guys showed up when we were
Terrible.
there. It was miserable.
All right. Well, let's set that aside then. For guys who played the game, if you are in spiders, if you are not in full pads, it is a close approximation of football, but it's not the real thing.
Yeah.
So how much, Bob, if Jay-Z, if you'd been out there on a Thursday or Friday, how much are you saying, well, this is real? I'm really liking what I see, or this means something, and how much of it is just, well, let's wait until scrimmage number 1?
I think you can get it varies by position. So the positions that are a little more physical, like pads, is
Yeah,
a bigger.
big time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bigger component of the evaluation process. But like on the perimeter, receivers and DBs, you can get a good feel for that in spiders with what the guys can do. They're jamming, like you have some protection on, and you're not, especially now because you can't hit the guys like you used to be able to
Mhm.
anyway. So back when we were playing, oh, you wait till we get pads on. It's like, well, yeah, now they'll just throw you out of the game. So congratulations. Hit me in the head. Here,
done.
take a walk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I don't even forget the question was. At this point in
How
time.
significant?
Oh,
are-
significant. Yeah, with pads. I mean, as a quarterback,
It
I
never
mean,
mattered.
no, it didn't really matter. I mean,
No, a lot-
putting shoulder pads on is a little bit different, throwing and all that stuff. But the biggest thing when you put pads on is you have these guys up front who are coming full tilt, like Bob was talking about. I think the pads make the biggest difference for the offensive line and defensive line, because you can really, get into each other at that point in time because you're fully protected. So I feel like they're going a little bit harder, and then you got more you have to protect or worry about as a quarterback in the pocket there. But as far as your receivers go, I mean, 7-on-7 and all that stuff. I mean, as long as you're making the correct reads and putting the ball where it needs to go, I don't think much of that is going to change when the pads come on for a quarterback or a receiver. As long I think these are just days of, all right, we're calling plays, we know what we're supposed to be reading, we're putting balls where they're supposed to be. Now we can throw some pads on and try and make this feel real.
Like last week, we talked a lot about JT Tuimoloau and how dominant he was in that spot we had on Thursday to watch. And it naturally brought people to the point of, does this mean the offensive line sucks?
Exactly.
And you do have to understand that JT's out there as one of the freakier athletes in the country going against offensive linemen that have never played against a guy like him with no pads on. So they're not able to really.
It's not the same feel for those guys.
It's harder.
And you have to be a little bit more careful. But he's just such a freakish athlete that he makes it look ridiculously easy. So I do think that if there's one spot where you hope that you'll see some we'll see some change this Friday when we get to watch practice from last week to this Friday, is that the offensive line is getting hands on people a little bit more, because I think that they were just reluctant to do it as much as they otherwise would.
Well, you had another idea for helping solve that problem.
Yeah, don't let JT practice.
And how's he supposed to get better?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's not my problem.
Not my problem.
My problem is making sure that the offense gets some sense of confidence between now and September 3rd. So as long as he's out there, they're not getting it. He was absolute. They put him and Michael Hall next to each other against Zen Mahalski and Matt Jones, and it's just not fair. So that's discouraging for people. And then you have the quarterbacks who are trying to figure out how to run an offense, and they don't have time to throw the ball because Kyle McCord is running 7-8 yards backwards every time. Like it's not a great situation. I just think you need to say, JT, buddy, we get it. Save a little bit of that for Indiana. Work on the side. He's gotten better in the offseason somehow. So clearly he did it without practicing, right? So,
but on the flip side, you gotta get these tackles ready to play against somebody who's going to be coming. Iron sharpens iron. The standard is the standard.
Let Jackson do it. Let Caden Curry do it. Those guys are just as annoying, but they're not going to be so
every single
fighting.
Well, there's something for the tackles too. You got a guy who's getting beat all day. All of a sudden, he's going home at the end of the day saying, "Man, I suck at this game. I don't want to play this game anymore."
You got to figure these guys are out there going, "Why am I doing this? Why am I even here?
Why did I sign up for this?"
They knew what they were getting into. They saw it in the spring.
It did not look fair, and
fair ain't got nothing to do with it.
Well, not.
Well, hey, listen, there's one good thing to come out of this.
The feel fair is it's going on over there right now on 17-11.
Have you been there? Did you go this weekend?
Oh, no. I went to the Hall of Fame, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was a fair of a different kind.
The Hall of Fame. This guy.
So cool.
Orlando Pace was there. Chris Carter. A couple of Buckeyes.
Buckeye convention.
Did you go there for Zach Thomas?
And DeMarcus, yeah.
Awesome.
It was good.
How was it?
It was, it was a long weekend.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like going to a wedding. I mean, it's the gold jacket. There's a gold jacket ceremony on.
Where are the parties at?
So where the party at,
yeah.
Jermaine Dupree?
Hey, Bob, where the party at?
So we had the gold jacket deal, which is at the Civic Center downtown Canton. Beautiful place. Parked at a Wendy's for $15. That was real. And then after that, I planned on going home, going to bed, or back to the hotel. And then a bunch of the guys like, "No, let's go out. I haven't seen you guys in a while. Okay, let's do it." And that was a bad situation.
Why doesn't the NFL just buy Canton?
Well,
I love
the
it. It's
owners
that fence set up on like the field or in that area.
So they used to do that, I guess. And then some of the guys wanted bigger, more elaborate parties. And so like Jerry Jones rented out the whole Glenmore Country Club. And so then that's what DeMarcus did. Like literally shut down the whole thing. Yeah. I guess he tried to get Brookside. They wouldn't do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like we have members. He's like, "We'll give you the ball." He's like, "I want the whole thing. Like close it down for the day."
That's a hefty price tag.
He had Timberlake play.
Oh, really?
Jerry did. Now, not DeMarcus, but DeMarcus was great. And I asked who pays for us, like the owners. I didn't know. Yeah. I mean, the players are footing with anything your owner isn't footing, and DeMarcus, the Bolins, and Joneses took care of a lot for him. Joe Thomas's, they had 2 tattoo artists there.
Get out.
Oh yeah.
Did you get one?
I didn't go to Joe's, and I'm glad I didn't because
you would have left with a tattoo.
They were real.
Left with a Joe Thomas tattoo on his arm.
If the artist was doing anything other than Joe Thomas Hall of Fame busts, they should have been thrown out. Like that should have been the only thing they were allowed to get.
I think they had some options there. A little book
and the new dog logo.
Limit 3 per person. They had a sweet shrimp tower, they said, like, or tuna or lobster tower, fireworks. The guy from Florida Georgia Line played. Like, the
Yeah, I
Haslam's
saw
went
him.
all
Well, I
out.
saw Foxy was there, and so he was posting some
Yeah.
stuff.
He may have got some more ink. You know,
He
Foxy's
may
got,
have,
he
yeah.
got a lot of ink. He's not passing up some free ink. And then Zach's
Yeah,
was at
Foxy.
the
I
Onesto.
got room right here.
Yeah. Zach's was at the Onesto Center downtown, which was beautiful. They brought in some Miami DJ, and he had a ton of Hall of Famers there because he's an older dude. I mean, Zach's going to be 50 next month. And so, like, Dan Marino, guys who he played with, a lot of his contemporaries were there, Jimmy Johnson. And it was awesome. Beautiful place, awesome setup. His speech was remarkable. I guess Joe's was at the Gervais Vineyards up there. And so they had a tenant. And then there was like 2 or 3 other guys who had theirs around his, but not quite to the grand scope of everything. So we hit up Zach's first.
Going out to the vineyard to get some tattoos.
Yeah.
Joe
The
Thomas.
vineyard's like, it's legit up there.
It's
It's a
supposed to be
big
really nice.
attraction. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yes.
People told us, like, what do I
Canton, Ohio, baby. The grapes are, they just have the nice little touch of.
represent over here.
Yeah.
Well, I was asking, like, what do I do? Like, what do we do in between? Because Zach went first speaking, DeMarcus went third, and you're down there on the field, man. I'm like, I love Darrell and Joe and Rondé, but I'm like, I'm not hanging around for all those guys. And so we ended up getting out of there. And then so what do we do? We have all day. It's like a wedding. And we got the reception that night. Zach's started at 7:30. DeMarcus didn't start till 8:30. So we'll go to Zach's first for a couple hours, then go to DeMarcus's. What do? We need to eat lunch. And so we went to Condado.
Yeah.
Well, we went to Condado and sat on the patio and drank for about 5 hours. Courtney was talking to her mom. She's like, "What are you guys doing?" She's like, "Oh, we just had lunch." I'm like, "It's 5:30, Court. We're going to shower and then get an Uber and head back out." And so yeah, we did that and cruised around, and it was fun. Like, getting Ubers there was not the easiest thing in the world.
I wouldn't imagine there's a ton of Uber drivers.
Not a
in Canton.
ton, but I think a lot of them come down from
Come
Cleveland.
down from Cleveland.
It's
It's
a
a
very
big weekend.
yeah, like, we were pulling in, getting ready to go, and the Wittens were going to ride with us, and then they didn't leave Condado in time, and our Uber driver's literally there. They pull in, we're outside waiting. They pull in right in front of our Uber driver, and I'm like, "We got an Uber coming. It'll be in like 5 minutes." Michelle goes, "Give us 15, and we'll be back down." I'm like, "All right." So we wait, and like, the guy, I'm like, "Hey, give me $40. We wait for like 15 minutes." Like, "Yeah, sure, man." And he's like just turning down all these other deals as he's going and whatever. Then Michelle threw some more cash at him as we went in, and I managed to spill my drink in his car on my leg, my Miami pants, because Zach's dress code was Miami chic. Marcus's was just simply chic. So I'm not sure the difference. Maybe
Yeah.
more white in Miami.
Sure.
Get the cocaine whites out, I mean, Joe Thomas, from basically everything I heard, the only thing he didn't have was like just a straight up, Kaiser Sosa, just
Like
mere tray of cocaine there
tiger.
to really get some bad decisions going, But it was great. Tauscher was telling me
He
about
gave
the
him
next day.
everything else.
Hey,
you want a tattoo tonight? Here you go.
hey, the Brockweiler was there for my man DeMarcus. Like, Von Miller came in, and he was just there for the induction. But I mean, the Brockweiler came through.
Wow.
I hadn't seen Osweiler in a minute. Courtney's like, "Who is that guy? He looks familiar." I'm like, "Well, that's the Brockweiler." "Oh, you'll love this." And then so the gold jacket ceremony, they introduce all the Hall of Famers that are there for it. And they, so the new guys walk down the tunnel. It's just 106 guys. They've got a prompter, but Dan Pouts was the one who was doing the emceeing for it, and he's awesome. You can see him; he's ad-libbing everything and whatever. And all the guys coming through, especially his contemporaries, and had nicknames for everyone, just rolling through, very natural. My wife goes, "Man, he's really good. Has he ever done TV?" I'm like, "Funny that you should say that. He actually did our national championship game, dear, and that Kellen Winslow right there, his son played for Miami, so he wasn't necessarily the most enthusiastic or impartial fan on the call for the Ohio State Buckeyes."
Sure wasn't. But yeah. All right.
Kellen Winslow Jr. not there. Brett Favre
Well,
also.
he's a soldier. He's busy.
Oh, Lawrence Taylor also not there. O.J. Simpson not in attendance.
Huh.
There was a bunch of guys. We made a list of all the guys who were living, like, just off the top of our head, who weren't there. And some I was kind of surprised, like Charles Woodson, Favre, Moss, like a bunch of dudes.
Too busy trying to recruit for Michigan right now.
I mean, there's a lot of things going on, but sure.
OJ's probably not allowed to cross state lines.
I don't know
Can't
about
leave
that.
Florida.
Someone stole his bus back after
The world, it's me, yours truly.
All right. Well,
Hey, Hall of Fame.
those
It's
were
me,
good stories.
yours truly.
I'm glad that you made that. Had a good weekend. Camp
Mhm.
is underway at Ohio State, of course. So that's where we were, especially on Saturday, talking to the running backs. All that coverage you can get on the podcast. We had some snappy J's after that. Some coverage at ohiostate.rivals.com. And then we're going to
What's
have
some recruiting news
Hey,
with Berm?
Hey, you got some.
he doesn't want to.
Nothing going on.
He doesn't want to do it.
Those wouldn't be tears from the hot sauce today.
There was a lengthy episode of Talking Stuff on Sunday. I recommend it. Check it out.
And that's the last he's going to say about KJ Bolden for now. So
And that's
Is
all
that
I
who we're
have-
talking about?
That's all I have to say about that.
big week coming. We appreciate Roosters having us back out here again to talk about Ohio State in a fun, casual conversation. Hope you have a great week. For Jay-Z, Bob, Bill, Berm, I'm Austin. We will talk to you again right back here at Roosters next Monday because it's a fun, casual joint.